Hey guys, real fast, what is enhanced stand your ground law and why is it needed so badly here in Georgia? Here's some facts. Georgia has stand your ground law on the books, but our law is weak. And so if we use a firearm in a self-defense situation here in Georgia, you and I are all presumed guilty in the eyes of the law. And so instead of being innocent until proven guilty, we are forced to prove our innocence. That's backwards. And in days when George Soros is bankrolling DAs all across the state, it will lead to disastrous results. It already has. We're going to fix that with enhanced stand your ground law. Number two, our current laws ordinarily only apply upon an appeal after your life has been ruined by a liberal prosecutor. We're going to fix that as well with enhanced stand your ground law. Guys, a big fight coming up and everybody involved, stand with us today at Georgia Gun Owners. Here's some more information about this bill and why it's so important here in Georgia right now. Like I was saying, Georgia has stand your ground law. It was passed in 2006. And while it's good to have removed the requirement to retreat, the problem is it still left the presumption of guilt on the gun owner. Now, what does that mean? It means that any time a gun owner in Georgia uses a firearm in a self-defense situation, in the eyes of the law, we're automatically presumed guilty. And what that means is that we have a much higher burden in court. We have to prove our innocence. Now, this is America, and we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And in many situations we are, but not in Georgia and not when it comes to a self-defense situation. And this has very terrible consequences because the DAs have all the power. They have the money, they have the time, and they have the staff to go after you, go after me for a year or 2 years or whatever it takes until A, they get a conviction in court, or B, they bankrupt us, they wear us down, and we plead guilty to a lesser offense. That is what normally happens in states like Georgia, where we are presumed guilty. It's backwards, it's asinine, it shouldn't be that way. And in dozens of other states, Florida, California, and everywhere in between, dozens of states, they've fixed it. They have enhanced stand your ground law, which gives a blanket presumption of innocence to everybody who uses a firearm in a self-defense situation. And that way, the jury has to convict you in court before you're actually guilty, but you're innocent until that day. Again, that has very real consequences. We all watched what this means in real life over the last 2 years with Mark McCloskey in Missouri and Kyle Rittenhouse in Wisconsin. And we all saw in real time just how much power the county prosecutors have. We must deal with this because if not, we're going to see more George Soros-backed DAs put innocent Georgians in prison for the crime of self-defense. That's issue number one. Issue number two, it's related to that, and that has to do with how and when a Georgian can be arrested following a use of force situation. Right now here in Georgia, when the cops show up, if you were forced to defend yourself and there's a dead guy laying in the ground or a wounded guy in the ground, and you're the gun owner, hopefully your gun's back in your holster at that point, in almost every situation, you're going to be arrested just because. You're going to be arrested because someone's shot and somebody has the gun, ergo, you must be guilty. And that's absolutely preposterous. If there's no probable cause that you broke the law, you should not be arrested just because. Because the power, again, that they have over you in that situation is incredible. So our bill number 2 will clarify in very vivid detail that the only time you can be arrested after a use of force situation is if there's probable cause that you broke the law. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but the prosecutors, the DAs here in Georgia are going to lose their mind because it takes away some of their power. In this case, it's absolutely necessary. Number 3, we're going to deal with the threatened use of force, not just the actual use of force. The difference is obvious. Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed people. Mark McCloskey in Missouri, he held 500 thugs at bay with his AR-15. Mark is a friend of mine. I've talked to him a lot about this. And, he saved his wife from being gang raped by hundreds of violent thugs, many of which were armed. He never pulled the trigger. And that is oftentimes the outcome in a self-defense situation. That's what we want. No one wants to have to shoot somebody. But here in Georgia right now, with a liberal prosecutor in the DA's office, you could be charged with brandishing or assault because we don't clearly protect the justifiable threatened use of force. We're going to deal with that with this legislation. And finally, we're going to clarify in vivid detail in the code how and when a gun owner can use stand your ground law in his defense. As I said, in many cases right now, we're limited to using stand your ground law usually only on an appeal. And that means that you've been convicted at this point of murder or attempted murder or something like that. The entire community, your neighbors, your friends, maybe your family thinks you're a murderer. You're bankrupt because of legal fees. You've lost your job. Your marriage is probably hanging on by a thread. Your life has been grievously wounded. And the prosecutors would say, well, that's okay. They can use it on appeal. But again, the damage has been done. That's crazy. Enhanced stand your ground law will guarantee a pre-trial immunity process. What that means is your lawyers can walk into court and say, Your Honor, our client admits, he stipulates, to use the formal word, that he shot this guy. Here's the reason why. The force was justifiable clearly in light of Georgia's current self-defense laws. And as such, we assert stand your ground law right now in advance, and we ask you to dismiss the case. If the judge agrees, that's it. You walk out of court a free man. If he doesn't, you have to stand trial, but at least you have the opportunity in cases where there's plenty of evidence, plenty of witnesses, and you did not break the law. You have a real chance of being immune from prosecution and being spared that 12 to 24-month hell on earth process of a criminal trial. So guys, again, we're going to give a presumption of innocence to the actual use of force and the threatened use of force. We're going to clarify when and how you can be arrested after a shooting. And number 4, we're going to give a real concrete process on how and when we can invoke stand your ground law as Georgians after a self-defense situation. It's going to be a big fight, guys. But again, dozens of states all around us have already done this. It's high time we do it as well. Get involved in our fight, guys. Go to georgiagunowners.org for more information or join ggO.com. Become a member today.